Dave, James Neal is a guy that you've had in the past. Obviously, he was a lot younger then, but what do you expect from him this season, and what do you think after kind of a down year in
A
Calgary last year?
very, very motivated player. I think you see that the players see that around right now in the dressing room. You watch him in the captain's practices here. He's ready to go, and he's got lots to prove. He's got lots to give still, and I think he's going to be a really good player for us.
He's played both wings in his career. Do you have a thought as to which one you'd
Yeah,
like to
we've
see him
we've
on?
talked a little bit, but some of it will depend on how the rest of our lineup works out. He's comfortable at both sides, but we're going to let that play out.
There's been a lot of talk about competition. The three center spot seems kind of wide open right now. Shahan just signed. You've got Haas, Marody. Are there other guys that you see that you want to compete for that spot?
There's a whole list of guys there. I've talked about trying JJ there a little bit. Now Sheehan comes in, that might change that a little bit. Haas, Marody, Malone is a solid player there. So there's a cast of players that are going to go there. And I don't look at it as a number three. I look at our group as we have a top six and a bottom six. And we might have a couple, our bottom two lines might be geared a little bit different. One's maybe a little heavier line, and one maybe a little quicker line that has the ability to score. Both full of special teams players, guys that are going to kill penalties and that. So we'll see. It always looks good on paper in the summer, and you go through and you figure out the pieces as you go through camp and see where they fit. But I like our mix on the bottom. We just got to figure out where everybody fits.
Do you see Benson as someone who can compete in your top six right now?
He's a guy that's going to push there. I've watched a lot of tape from him the American League. He's a good young player. He makes plays. He makes plays in traffic, and that's what we need. We need players that can execute in traffic, and he's never done it at the NHL level yet. That's going to be his where he's going to show whether he can do it. He's ready to do it yet or not, but we're going to give him a good shot in camp. And I watched his first game the other night in the rookie game. It's a real scrambly game, hard to get a gauge. I'll get one more game with him tomorrow night, and then we'll play him in some exhibition games, and we'll see where he gets.
Dave, Leon said at the end of last year that he'd happily give some of those 50 goals back for more team success. Does he have to? Like, is there a style that needs to be played that would back those levels of offense off?
No, he doesn't have to. I mean, he looks in great shape right now. He looks like he could exceed that. But that being said, you look at the goals against, and that's got to change. We could have 350 goal scorers if you keep giving up goals against like we were, or they was last year. You're not going to be a playoff team. That's just matter of fact. So our goals against is going to be a real priority, and there'd be nothing in that takes away from the creativity or letting players do their thing, but there's going to be an extra onus on playing well on our own end.
And just to clarify, you mean the team's goals against, not Leon specifically?
The team's goals against. Okay. Team goals against. So I put, the offensive game, I put Leon. You're asking about our offensive game. We're still going to ask players to be creative. We need Leon. We need Connor. We need depth scoring right throughout our lineup. That we're going to push for offense, but we have to play a stronger defensive game. And, that'll be the focus here early in camp. Because if we don't get that number down, there'll be lots of flair and lots of nice goals, but not many in the playoffs.
He was about 60% of his 5-on-5 minutes with Connor last year. You think it'll be that or more this year?
Well, we'll start. My goal is to start that way, but there's always room for change. And the way things could change a little bit is other players push up to the wings where we think that there's enough depth there. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, Connor and Leon both like playing with each other. They're going to see time apart from each other and different, certain instances in a game when I throw them each around on a line. But right now they look very comfortable together.
Dave, when you look at your defense, obviously that's a big key to goals against. Do you like guys on their natural side, lefties,
Yeah.
lefties, righties, righties? So do you see Chris Russell as a really good left third pair after Clefbaum and Nurse?
I'd like to get him to the left side. I've always been a big left-right guy, but some of that is determines the players you have. There are some players that can play. I've seen more left shots be able to play right than I have right on the left. Lubomir Wisnowski, who was here a while ago, he was one of those guys. I had him in LA. He was a better player on the right than he was the left. But most of the time, you look at just the simplicity of moving the puck and the feet position dictate a lot of things that happen on that right side when you're on your offside. I would like to see Russell get back to his regular side. I think it'll allow him to move the puck a lot better.
When you're bringing yourself up to speed on a new team, do you spend your time poring over last year's video, or is it more along the lines of trying to implement what you want?
Both. I've watched, if not all, just parts of just about every game last year. When Todd was here, when Hitch was here, early winning streaks, losing streaks. I mean, I've watched a lot of that, but I've also, there's a lot of stuff being done. I've watched a lot of stuff in the Stanley Cup final, those two teams, how they play. And so it's all encompassing. I know I have a pretty good handle on what we have here, and there's going to be some things that I'd like to do different, but just throughout the league, knowing what's going on.
Was the Edmonton footage pretty revealing? Do you see things that, okay, this is not that difficult to fix?
Some, it goes in stretches, and it's like every team. Like early on, you see certain trends, and then you get into a groove, and they look like they're playing all right, and then there'd be, the last couple weeks of the 3 weeks of the year was tough slugging, and then you gotta separate how much of it is special teams, how much of it is goaltending, how much of it is depth. What can you correct with just adding some depth on the bottom side. So it's a whole new year. You kind of have an idea, and a little bit. It's less about how the team played and how the individuals played, and how they're. I have an idea how we want to play, but you got to have players that fit into that scheme.
Do you go into camp feeling like you have a clear-cut starting goaltender, or what will the message be to them about opening night?
They know that it's competition, and they've already started in practices. And I know Schmitty well. I've watched a lot of Costin on tape. I think they're both going to be. I've told them both. I hope you both play 41 games really well, right? If we do that, we'll be fine.
Well, Dave, do you have an idea or a strategy of how you're going to manage McDavid, through camp and preseason as he comes back?
Every day I've talked to him the last couple of days. I watched him skate this morning. We're just going to manage him as it goes along. This morning he was out there. He did everything in practice. So. It's a combination of us with the training staff and the doctors, and Ken and I will talk about it with Connor, and just whenever he feels comfortable, that's when he'll go, and we'll be very cautious with him, especially early in camp, and it'll a lot depend on what the doctors think and how he's feeling.
Do you throw him out there with the group if he's not ready for contact, or do you does he go different colored jersey, or is it, and when he's ready for contact?
We'll be cautious with him. We're still a little over less than a week away from that, so we'll see. But he looks like he's skating fine out there. But we're not going to put him in a bad position.
Dave, you mentioned you watched a lot of film on Benson and other guys that weren't here.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of the film on like Nygaard and Haas specifically? And how much does that translate, because of different ice surface, very different style? Can you glean a lot of info from them? Do you kind of know what to expect?
Their style. Their skating. A little bit of it, but they're guys that are going to play a lot of exhibition games, so we can get a handle on them in the small ice. Both good skill players, and the thing like they're mature players. They're not 20-year-olds or 21. They're 25, 26, 27-year-olds, and I put Pearson in that same group. So there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment over here, but both of them have been here skating, and I like where they're at. It's just, like I say, you don't want to plug them in a spot until you see them do it.
Dave, there was talk obviously about Larson and Nurse playing together. What kind of partner then if those two are going to play together, would you be looking for Oscar Klefbom?
A good one, right-hander preferably. If you come up with one in camp, let me know.
Dave,
We've got some candidates.
Dave, let's talk about why you're here today in support of the Edmonton Oilers Community Foundation. Why is it so important for a team like the Edmonton Oilers to be so connected to their community and their community foundation?
Well, every team in the league is they have a responsibility to the community. I think Edmonton, being from Western Canada, I just know the passion in the fans here, and the responsibility of the organization to the community, and anything we can do to help, and all the different charities in town, I think we should automatically do it. And our players, I know, there's lots of ribbon about golf tournaments and stuff like that, so there was lots of talk this morning about who's going to play well and who's not going to play well, so it'll be a fun day for a great cause.
And what about the banquet last night? Did you have a favorite moment from last night?
I like the old school guys. Ronnie Lowe up there talking. Ronnie and I have been friends for a long time. It's good to hear the old stories.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave.